Just a few decades ago, nightclubs buzzed with disco rhythms, packed with revelers moving to the beat. Yet, as the 70s rolled on, this scene started to crumble. Rock and pop took over, emptying the dance floors and filling up bars and concert halls. Video games like Atari came along, pulling people from lively disco lights into the glow of screens. How did these once-loved 70s habits turn into activities that society now bans and punishes? Let's investigate why the vibrant nights of disco and games turned into today's illegal acts. The evolution of entertainment. While discotheques were the go-to spots for a good time, their popularity began to wane as new forms of entertainment and music started to emerge. By the end of the 70s, rock and pop genres began to dominate the music charts, shifting the public's interest away from disco music. This shift was significant, not just for music, but for how people chose to spend their evenings. Pubs and live music venues started to gain more attention, offering a different kind of social experience that was less about dancing and more about listening to bands. As the disco era faded, whispers of a mysterious new club began to circulate, rumored to offer a night that could change lives forever. The transition wasn't just in the music or the venues, it was also in the technology people used. Video arcades and home video game systems, like the Atari, began to capture the hearts of many, offering an alternative form of entertainment that could be enjoyed both in public and in the comfort of one's home. This new trend saw people spending less time in discotheques and more time in front of screens, playing games that were just as engaging as dancing the night away. And here's another twist. Remember the simple joy of renting a movie from Blockbuster? Back in the 70s, watching a movie at home wasn't as easy as streaming a film on Netflix. It was an event that required a trip to the video store where you could browse through rows of VHS tapes or later DVDs. Choosing a movie to watch was a communal activity that involved the whole family or a group of friends discussing and debating which titles to rent. However, as convenient as it might seem now, the digital age has ushered in a sense of nostalgia for these old rituals. The act of physically picking out a movie at a store has a charm that digital scrolling just can't match. This nostalgia is powerful, often leading us to reminisce about the slower, more tactile experiences of the past. But wait, there's more to this story. As we continued to move forward, the way we interacted with media kept evolving. The rise of digital technology didn't just change how we watched movies or listened to music, it revolutionized our entire lifestyle. Now, with smartphones and tablets, every aspect of entertainment is at our fingertips, allowing for a level of convenience and immediacy we could hardly imagine back in the 70s. As we look back on these pastimes, it's clear that while technology has brought numerous advancements, it has also phased out many of the activities we once loved. Whether it's the nostalgic act of adjusting rabbit ear antennas or the communal experience of choosing a movie at Blockbuster, these activities have given way to a new era of convenience and speed. However, the memories of these simpler times continue to resonate with many, reminding us of the joy found in the small, shared moments of the past. In the 70s, partygoers enjoyed a time full of freedom, happiness, and open self-expression. But as the disco fever started to fade, the 80s brought in new music and social trends, slowly pushing the once lively disco clubs to the side. While nightclubs didn't completely disappear, the unique energy of 70s disco became more of a nostalgic memory. Today's nightclubs offer a mix of different experiences. Some pump out electronic beats, while others cater to fans of specific music styles. New laws and safety rules have also changed how clubs feel and operate. The dance floors that once defined the social scene in the 70s have shifted their focus to different things. As we leave behind the smoky rooms of the past, we step into a cleaner, healthier future. A health revolution launched. But this wasn't the only big change. Another common part of the 70s, though less celebrated, was indoor smoking. Whether you were at the office or out for dinner with friends, You were likely to be greeted by a cloud of smoke that clung to your clothes and hair long after you left. Back then, full ashtrays and the sound of lighters flicking on were a regular part of daily life in restaurants and offices. Today, that scene feels like a distant memory. Most indoor spaces are now smoke-free, thanks to rules that have been put in place. This change didn't happen overnight. It was the result of growing awareness about the dangers of secondhand smoke, which research linked to health issues like lung problems and heart disease. As people started to care more about health, the idea of smoking indoors became less acceptable. Even with better ventilation systems, the shift in attitudes made indoor smoking feel outdated. What used to be a regular part of life is now something you mostly see in old movies. And just like the way smoking has changed, office technology has evolved as well. Back in the day, if you needed to make a copy of a document, you would likely use carbon paper. You had to place a sheet of carbon paper between two sheets of regular paper, which often left ink smudges and stained fingers. It wasn't the easiest or cleanest method, and it certainly wasn't efficient. Compare that to today's digital solutions, and it's clear how far we've come. Carbon paper used to be a must-have in every office, making it easy to copy documents, though it was a bit messy and needed a steady hand. It was vital for keeping businesses running smoothly, from sending letters to signing important contracts. Then along came the photocopier. With just a push of a button, it made clean, sharp copies without any smudges or the hassle that came with carbon paper. It quickly became clear that photocopiers were faster, cleaner, and much more efficient, leaving carbon paper in the past. Rotary phones were once as common in homes as the furniture. These phones, with their round dials and familiar clicking sound, were a marvel of engineering for their time. They weren't just a way to make calls, they were part of daily life, connecting people and becoming a fixture in many family memories. But by the 1960s, technology started to evolve. Push-button phones came along, offering quicker dialing without the need to turn a dial. This new design quickly made the rotary phones feel old-fashioned. Even though push-button phones were faster, some people still preferred their trusty rotary phones. But as the 1970s rolled on, life sped up. With the rise of fast-paced culture, the sleeker and more modern push-button phones took over. These new phones were quicker to use and had better sound quality, among other improvements. The rotary phones that once filled every home gradually disappeared, replaced by the new and better technology. At the same time, Betamax tapes were introducing people to the joy of watching movies at home. Launched in the mid-1970s, Betamax allowed families to enjoy films from their living rooms. But soon, another competitor appeared, the VHS tape. VHS offered longer recording times, which appealed more to both consumers and film studios. As more stores stocked VHS tapes, Betamax couldn't keep up and eventually faded away. But that wasn't the end of the story. DVDs and Blu-ray discs came along, with better picture quality and more features, pushing older formats like Betamax even further into the past. From old tech to the dawn of the internet, we explore how early tools shaped our digital world. From BBS to broadband. But Betamax's story isn't even the worst part of technological change. Think about the early days of the internet. Back then, connecting online felt like stepping into unknown territory. People used dial-up modems that made slow, buzzing sounds to connect to bulletin board systems. These systems were basic, but they allowed users to exchange messages, files, and even play games. Although they were simple, they laid the groundwork for today's internet, with all its global reach and the instant connectivity we now take for granted. As technology evolves, these once cutting-edge tools and devices are often replaced, but they each played a role in shaping the conveniences we enjoy today. In the early days of the internet, people gathered online in places called bulletin board systems, or BBS for short. These were simple digital meeting places where people with similar hobbies or interests could come together to share ideas. To connect to a BBS, you had to use a modem, and it made all sorts of strange noises as it dialed up. It was like sending your computer through the phone line to explore a whole new world and meet others. Each bulletin board felt like its own little community. Some were for fans of science fiction, while others were where radio enthusiasts or poets hung out. There were even spaces for people who loved creating art using only text, known as ASCII art. If you were into that, you'd find all sorts of amazing pictures made from keyboard symbols, dragons, spaceships, and much more. But then came the 1990s and everything changed with the World Wide Web. Suddenly, people could use the internet in a whole new way. Web pages had colorful pictures, buttons to click, and a lot more variety. It was like moving from a quiet little cafe to a big, bustling town square. With all these new features, bulletin boards started to feel old-fashioned, and the modem, once the key to this exciting world, began to seem outdated. However, the spirit of bulletin board systems didn't disappear. We still see it today in places like Reddit, where people gather in different subreddits to talk about their favorite topics, share ideas, and build online communities. While the way we interact online has changed a lot, the core idea of coming together over shared interests has stayed the same. But that wasn't the only shift happening. Let's take a step back to the 1970s, when a completely different type of gathering was taking place: key parties. At these wild social events, people would throw their car keys into a bowl, and after a few drinks, someone would pick a random set of keys. Whoever owned the keys would be their companion for the night, making for an unpredictable and adventurous evening. As the 1980s rolled in, though, key parties started to lose their appeal. New forms of entertainment, like video cassette recorders and cable TV, made staying home more fun and private. Social norms were shifting too, and the carefree, unpredictable nights of key parties slowly became a thing of the past. They were no longer the main event, but rather a memory of a different time. At the same time, finding information wasn't as easy as a quick Google search. Back then, if you needed to know something, you turned to an encyclopedia, a big, impressive set of books, often taking up an entire bookshelf. The Encyclopedia Britannica, in particular, was a popular choice and often seen as a symbol of knowledge and learning in many homes. As books turn to bytes, we see how the digital age reshapes our quest for knowledge, from encyclopedias to the internet. Encyclopedias used to be more than just books on a shelf. They were important tools for people who were curious about the world. Imagine being assigned a school project about ancient cultures. You'd walk over to the bookshelf, pull out the history volume, and dive into the pages full of interesting facts. Each entry was like a little adventure into new ideas and places, making every page you turned feel like an exciting journey. But then, everything changed with the digital age. The internet came along, bringing an endless amount of information right to your fingertips. Now, instead of looking through books, you could simply type a few words into a computer and instantly find what you needed. The change happened fast, making it much easier to access information without even getting up from your chair. Online databases and resources soon became the main way to learn, offering not just information, but also videos, animations, and tons of links to explore more. It was hard to resist. Why flip through old, dusty pages when you could have the latest information with just a click? Just like how rotary phones were replaced by push-button ones, physical encyclopedias were left behind as digital tools took over. As the 70s moved into the 80s, fashion was also undergoing a transformation. In the disco-filled 70s, leisure suits were all the rage. These matching jacket and pants sets, often made of shiny polyester, were worn by both men and women and came in bright, bold colors like electric blue, vivid green, and deep purple. These outfits were the perfect mix of style and comfort, representing the adventurous and fun spirit of the 70s. Stores like Donaldson's sold plenty of these colorful ensembles. However, as the 80s approached, fashion trends started to change. People began to prefer simpler, more versatile clothing that didn't scream for attention. The once popular leisure suit became outdated, and now it's mostly remembered for themed parties and nostalgic events, more for its fun, quirky look than for its practicality. Household safety standards were also shifting, especially when it came to lead-based paints. In the 70s, many homes were painted in bright reds, blues, and greens thanks to these paints. While they gave homes vibrant, long-lasting color, there was a hidden danger. By the late 70s, it was discovered that exposure to lead, especially in children and pregnant women, could lead to serious health issues, including damage to the brain. As people started realizing how dangerous lead poisoning could be, there was a rush to solve the problem. Lead poisoning can slow down a child's growth and, in very serious cases, even be deadly. Governments worldwide took action, banning the use of lead in paint and encouraging safer options to protect public health. This push came from a better understanding of environmental risks and a strong desire to protect those most in danger. Today, lead-based paints are mostly gone, replaced with safer alternatives that help create healthier living environments and fewer lead-related health problems. But just as this issue was being handled, a new challenge was starting to take shape in the 70s, waiting for people to notice and address it. Imagine driving a car in the 70s. Those cars were huge, with big engines and lots of room inside. They were all about comfort and power, not about saving fuel. But then the oil crisis of the 70s hit, and suddenly the world realized how shaky our gasoline supply really was. Fuel prices shot up, and people found themselves waiting in long lines at gas stations. Those big, gas-hungry cars started to lose their appeal. This crisis showed the importance of saving energy and reducing our dependence on foreign oil. It wasn't just a short-term problem. It completely changed the car industry. Car companies had to shift gears fast, moving away from the big, gas-guzzling models and starting to make smaller, more fuel-efficient vehicles. Consumers also began to favor cars that were cheaper to run and better for the environment, leading to a boom in compact cars. On top of that, stricter environmental rules demanded cars that used less fuel and polluted less. This was the beginning of a new path for car manufacturers, eventually leading to today's focus on electric and hybrid cars. But this wasn't the end of the story. These changes were just the start of a long journey towards sustainability in car design. As we move from telegrams to tweets, every message brings us closer in an instant. A communication evolution. Sending telegrams used to be one of the main ways to send urgent messages over long distances, and it carried a certain formality. You would go to a telegraph office, hand over your message, and it would be sent through telegraph lines across great distances. Every telegram felt important. But the digital revolution changed everything. When the internet came along, with emails, texts, and social media, it completely transformed how we communicate. Telegrams, which were slower and more expensive, quickly became outdated. Digital communication was faster and easier, and people quickly embraced it. The decline of telegrams sped up even more with the privatization of telegraph services and new communication policies. Yet, even though telegrams are rarely used today, they still remind us of a time when sending a message was a careful, thoughtful process, and every word counted. As communication and technology evolved, so did how we spend our free time. New forms of entertainment and leisure started to emerge, reshaping the way people enjoy themselves and relax. And this shift in entertainment would soon impact many other aspects of daily life too. The 1970s were a special time for kids, mainly because of a weekend tradition that felt almost magical. As the sun's rays peeked through bedroom curtains, children would jump out of bed, buzzing with excitement. This was the time for Saturday morning cartoons, a beloved ritual where animated characters came to life right in their homes. Kids would gather in front of the TV, cereal bowls in hand, ready for a lineup of colorful shows. Cartoons like Scooby-Doo, the Flintstones, and Looney Tunes weren't just fun. they became a big part of growing up for many children. It wasn't just about the cartoons themselves, though. The excitement came from not knowing which new episodes might air and the joy of seeing favorite characters again. Every Saturday morning brought the chance to laugh with family and dive into playful, imaginative stories. But as time went on, things started to change. The entertainment world evolved, and with the rise of cable TV, channels like Cartoon Network and Disney Channel began offering cartoons all day long, every day. The excitement of waiting for Saturday morning started to fade. But that wasn't even the biggest shift. Soon after, streaming services like Netflix and Disney Plus arrived, completely changing how people watched TV. Now, viewers could watch cartoons whenever they wanted. The idea of waiting until Saturday morning to enjoy them felt outdated. Why limit yourself to just one day when you could watch any time? With this new convenience, the tradition of gathering for Saturday morning cartoons slowly disappeared as binge-watching became more popular. The shared joy of watching together turned into a more private experience whenever it suited each person. This shift in how we watch shows today mirrors the broader changes in how we engage with entertainment overall. What used to be a shared, special moment has become something more personal and instant. Do you think this shift to on-demand viewing has improved our viewing experience, or has something vital been lost? Like, comment, and subscribe for more.